Hello, this is Greg from StartingYourBusiness.com, and today we'll be discussing an important decision that most people struggle with as they embark on their entrepreneurial journey, which is choosing between the sole proprietorship and limited liability company. And I've had this discussion with so many people who are trying to choose between the two, and I know how hard this decision can be. So, to hopefully help better explain the differences between the two entities, let me start off by sharing a story of an entrepreneur who was struggling with this very decision. I was working with Alex, who is a super talented web designer and had a vision of creating a marketing agency catering to small businesses. And Alex had started his research online, and like so many other people, he was torn between the sole proprietorship and limited liability company. And I'll get to what business structure Alex went with at the end, but first let's go over the 5 main differences between a sole proprietorship and an LLC. The first is limited liability. The prime advantage of an LLC over a sole proprietorship is the limited liability it offers its owner, who is called a member. This protection means that if the business faces legal challenges, the owner's personal assets typically remain secure. On the flip side, sole proprietorships have no such safeguard, making the owner personally liable for any business debts or lawsuits. I do want to point out that while the LLC provides liability protection, if a business loan is needed, the owners are probably going to be required to sign a personal guarantee. So if the business fails, they are still going to have to pay the bank back. Number 2 is startup expenses. While sole proprietorship has minimal startup costs, forming an LLC can range from $40 to several $1,000s, depending on the state and whether you hire a lawyer or do it yourself. The affordability of a sole proprietorship gives it an edge, but in many states, if the business will operate under a business name that is different from the owner's name, a DBA or doing business as registration will need to be filed, which usually doesn't cost much, but it's going to cost something. Third consideration is corporate formalities. To maintain the limited liability protection of an LLC, you must adhere to specific formalities. And each state's going to be a little bit different, but the things to watch out for, you're going to have operating agreement in a few states, filing an annual report, separating personal and business funds, and a few other things. If you fail to follow these, you do risk losing the very benefits of the liability protection that the LLC offers. Sole proprietorships, on the other hand, they don't have any formalities to deal with. Number 4 is taxes. And I'll only briefly touch on taxes because this gets to be a pretty complex discussion. But basically, sole proprietors report their income and expenses on their personal tax return. In addition to paying income tax on profits, a sole proprietor is also responsible for self-employment taxes. LLCs have the option of being taxed as a sole proprietorship. However, single-owner LLCs can opt to be taxed as a C corporation or S corporation. And while these terms kind of sound confusing, the LLC itself doesn't have a taxation type. So it does give it an advantage over the sole proprietorship because it can choose how it is taxed and it can change how it is taxed over time. So as the business becomes more profitable, even though there's a little more work to do, the corporation tax election can save an LLC quite a bit on taxes. Last, we have protection from personal debts. An LLC doesn't just shield you personally from business debts, it also safeguards your business from personal liabilities. So, for example, if you're personally involved in a car accident unrelated to your business, your LLC's assets remain protected. Sole proprietorships are not going to enjoy this luxury. So that covers the main differences between the sole proprietorship and limited liability company. But what did Alex do? And the big selling points to Alex of the sole proprietorship was that it's easier to set up, costs nothing other than filing a DBA, and required less startup and ongoing paperwork than the LLC. On the other hand, Alex liked the LLC because of the personal liability protection and separation of his personal assets from the business. Ultimately, though, Alex decided that the benefits of an LLC outweighed the drawbacks, especially given the potential risks associated with operating a marketing agency. He was primarily concerned with copyright infringement and data breach issues. So by forming an LLC, Alex separated his personal and business assets, so if the business were to be sued, his personal assets should be safe. Well, thanks for joining me today. I hope this video helped answer your questions and decide which is best for you, but let me know if you have any questions. And if you've made your choice, I would love to hear whether you went with a sole proprietorship or limited liability company and what were the deciding factors for you. So please put those in the comments. Also, if this video helped you at all, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. Good luck, and I look forward to talking with you next time.